I feel like I stopped talking about the LGBTQ community and started talking about the Sonic community again. I'm also starting to believe there is no difference between the two. But that's besides the point. Guys, remember when we've done videos on Chuds of TikTok? We've done a couple. Not a lot, but a couple. So apparently, she decided to show her face on Tucker Carlson, and she has some comments about the LGBTQ community. So we're going to go ahead and get into all that, but first, let's get into the fan art set. Why? Mathematical Cabbage? Why? Why feet? Why feet? Mathematical Cabbage says, I'm a man of my word. I may suck at drawing feet, but behold, actual toe picks. I went for a softer rendering style this time for fun. Why feet? I know why feet. I know why. The context for that is that somebody donated $69.69, and apparently every time somebody donates that much towards the pre-subathon goal, then that makes, you know, that happen. That makes lewd art pop up, apparently. You know, for reasons, I guess. Also, fun fact, the 108 hours and 32 minutes thing that is up there, that means that's how much time the subathon will have when it starts in January. Donos that have OWO attached to them add time, and donos that have the other one attached to them subtract time from it. So that's a thing you can do on stream. And apparently, ones of 69.69 get feet. I'm moving on to the next one. Anyway, this one is from Axo that has cream crunchy audio sounds. This is from when I was trying to stream from my car and everything was crunchy and bad and wrong. The next one we have from Axo that has cream is doodled in class about viruses and bacteria, so have a depressed slime virus. There's an OWO virus later as well, but here is the slime. The other one will be for later. As always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it in the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at this.
What is
Bait.
What's going on here? Do you have any theories?
I think there's something so unique about the LGBTQ community has become this cult, and it's so captivating.
It's amazing. She's saying LGBTQ community, but I think she means MAGA hats. But, you know, I guess either way.
And it pulls people in so strongly, unlike anything we've ever seen. And they brainwash people to join, and they convince them of all of these things.
All these things is such a vague post. By all these things, do you mean convince people that they might be gay or might be trans? Because typically, I know there are people who have tried to convince others that they are trans when they're not. It's happened to me where people have tried to go, Suris, you use female models. That means you're trans. You must be trans. And I'm like, no. I don't know how to tell you that I just like booba. And, you know, fan art created this thing, not anything else. But while those people do exist, by and large, as a community, the LGBTQ community, as much as you can monolithically describe it, I guess, isn't trying to tell everybody that they are trans or everyone that they're gay. The message largely is, you might be anything. You might be trans, you might be cis, you might be gay, you might be straight, you might be bi, you might be pan. You might be poly, you might be mono, but there's no way to know unless you are willing to explore those things. Explore whether you're polyamorous, explore whether you're gay, explore whether you're trans. Play a female character in an RPG for a little bit and see if you catch a vibe. I don't know. Like, that's largely the message from the LGBTQ community insofar as there is a cohesive message in what is literally a non-community of people who all are grouped together because we as humans shorthand everything into groups of people. Like, I don't know how to say that there is a There is an understood LGBTQ community insofar as there is a minority of people who belong to it, and therefore grouping them makes sense. But at the same time, the idea of an LGBTQ community is utter nonsense because none of y'all can agree on shit. Specifically, none of you can agree whether it should be Sonic and Shadow or Sonic and Knuckles. I personally am an advocate for Suckles. That's my ship. That's the fight we should be having, more than anything. Oh, right, there's a video I'm supposed to be talking about.
And it's really, really hard to get out of it. It's really difficult. And there are studies on this. Like, there
are studies on on ungaying. There are studies on untransing the gays. She's seen them. They're real. We promise. I wonder if she can name any of those studies.
There's been a lot of reporting on this about people, parents who are like, my child is starting to say, that they're non-binary or transgender or whatever, and what do I do? How do I stop this?
So you don't stop it. That's the thing. If your child is trans, there is no stopping it. If your child is cis, then they will stop it themselves. The rate of people that feel like they're trans and end up detransitioning is very low, but those people do exist. There are people who can feel like they are that type of person and then realize down the road that they're not. I don't know how many times I have to say that they are a minority of a minority group, but they do exist. And their existence should give you enough confidence that if your child is, quote, indoctrinated, quote, into the LGBTQ community in some way, shape, or form, they can find their way out if that is the case. But I think looking at people who say they might be gay or people who say they might be trans as exclusively cult-like is really weird to me. Yes, there are groups within the LGBTQ community, again, insofar as that's even a cohesive thought that can be laid. There are groups within that community that can be toxic, caustic, and terrible to you. But that is true of all community. I feel like I stopped talking about the LGBTQ community and started talking about the Sonic community again. I'm also starting to believe there is no difference between the two. But that's besides the point.
And it's really, really difficult. It's unlike anything we've ever seen, I think. It's extremely poisonous.
I like how, again, we've got vague posts. There are some studies on this. And then there are reportings on this. Okay, cool. There are reports about a lot of things. Reports don't matter. There are studies and reports and things on a lot of things. Unless you are willing to be specific on what the studies' names are, what their conclusions were, who did the reporting on what organizations they worked for, that statement means nothing. And I understand she's kind of on the spot at Tucker Carlson, or maybe she's actually not on the spot, and these are all pre-screened questions, as is a lot of the times the case with these types of interviews. But ultimately, I'd have to wonder, what studies would she cite? She's got a Twitter where she's likely posted some of this. If there are some, maybe link them in the description below. Those could be useful to go over.
See a spiritual component to any of this? You don't have to answer that if you don't want.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a spiritual component to this? Do you think the gender fae convinced you or some shit? What spiritual component? Or do you think that this is actually the work of Satan or some shit?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I do. I don't think this makes sense at all.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And I think they're evil. And some
LGBTQ people, they're evil. You said it right here on Tucker Carlson. Evil for what? She can't even get descriptive enough to tell you.
Sometimes we try to break it down a lot, and we discuss like why this is happening, what's happening, and whatever. And I think sometimes the simplest answer is like they're just evil. They're bad people.
This is the level of critical thinking I would expect from a 5-year-old. They're just evil. They're just bad. No! Nobody is fucking evil and nobody is fucking good. People are a mix of both of those traits. Their actions are measured in good or evil, largely, But when you just saw, I think it's just because they're evil. Imagine if every video that I did, every video of the over 1,000 videos on this channel, imagine if on every single video I did, all I said was that Steven Anderson does this because he's evil. He's evil, so he does evil things. There. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the comments I would get on that? There would be people who want to agree with me, who would be shouting me down from the rooftops, basically going, "Dear God, why? Why are you being such a child? Why can't you actually just analyze something, put yourself in somebody's shoes, and try to figure out why they would do a thing?" They are just evil is the type of thing that a Saturday morning cartoon villain wouldn't even accept as motivation for his character. At the very least, Saturday morning cartoon villains often think they're right.
They're just evil people. And they want to groom kids.
Yeah.
They're recruiting.
How?
They're evil and they want to groom kids and they're recruiting. If there weren't a giant amount of platitudes that you could throw into a sentence, that is what that is. Just a bunch of platitudes crammed together in a desperate attempt to create a narrative. And what I mean by that, if I want to convince you, let's say you're a simplistic person. If I want to convince you that somebody should be stopped, all I have to tell you is that they are harming kids, and that they are evil, and they are recruiting. If I tell you those things, if you're a simplistic person, you might go and stop them. One might even say you might, stochastically respond to that. But either way, you are going to go and do something dumb because you see this other person as a villain, because I've painted them as a villain. I haven't given you a good reason that they're a villain. I've given you, again, the lowest level of worse than Saturday morning cartoon style villain motivations. I've given you nothing. But if you accept this and only this, if you accept that somebody is evil and they are grooming children, that is enough to motivate very simple people. And all you need to do is talk to an audience of very simple people enough, and eventually one of them is going to go do something stupid, which has been the case with fucking Libs of TikTok. But there's a little more to this.
Sent a reporter after, like literally after you. Her name is what, and she did what? If you could fill in those blanks.
So her name is Taylor Lorenz, also known as Tay Tay.
Tay Tay.
Tay Tay, that's her name.
And who calls her that?
So I called her that, and
Also,
I made it up.
Source, I made it the fuck up. Literally.
And my goal is that people start referring to her as that, and it's catching on. I saw it printed. I forget which news outlet printed it, like Tay Tay, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is my dream.
My dream is to say a disparaging name about a person and have it stick. That's her dream. That's what it looks like to achieve your goals, everybody.
Because you understand something that most conservatives don't, which is when you control the language, you control the conversation.
Yeah. When you refer to her next, if you say...
And then, of course, now Tucker Carlson is going to do that because he's the type of person to run along with that. Can I also say that's the most I've ever seen her smile? That's the most I've ever seen Tucker smile. Also, it might be the case that this woman was actually at the January 6th insurrection. It might be. To be fair, she looks very generic brunette girl, so I'm not 100% certain. It's very interesting to talk about a cult of people that are recruiting and need to be stopped with that MAGA hat on. She seems to have a fixed XD on her face. When you can vaguely, and with nothing but platitudes, paint an entire group of people as evil with zero evidence and nothing but shit argumentation, all you have to do to convince people to harm those people is to just already have a narrative that they're bad and then post their TikToks on Twitter. And that's exactly what she fucking does. Her name is Shaya, or Shaya, one or the other or both. I'm just gonna keep calling her Libs of TikTok. That's become her legacy. She can swim with it or sink with it at this point. If I can live or die on the name Suris, she can do it too. I don't know how to respond to this. We've basically witnessed a child in an adult's body being taken so seriously by Tucker Carlson. And I recognize that that's a laugh coming from a VTuber on the internet. There are some people who could say I'm hiding behind a cartoon. I mean, realistically, I'm not. I'm right here. Always have been. I've used my character and my face multiple times on multiple platforms. I understand there is an argument that can be made from people who are less inclined to think critically that speaking from behind a cartoon is enough to dismiss anything I say because, well, again, I'm a cartoon. Why should it matter? But I think that it matters more if you sound and act like a child and use the argumentation and rhetoric of a child than if you simply look like something you perceive as for children. And if you perceive this model as for children, then I think we need to have a conversation about who the fucking groomer is. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments section below, because I don't have anything else for you now. I don't. Let me know what you think down there. Hit the like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already, and insert any video tagline here.